In the midnight glow where the stars align, we lose ourselves in the rhythm divine. Underneath the sky painted with dreams we're chasing.
Hello and welcome to another episode. I'm excited about this one. Today we are going to be doing a deep dive into the moon. And I am Mari,
And I'm Jody.
and we're so happy you're here today listening and on our deep dive series into the planets. And in this case, one of the luminaries, technically, the moon. And we're following along with the season. So we are in Cancer season now and looking at the moon as the ruler of Cancer season. So if the sun represents the conscious self and the path you're growing into, the moon represents the deeply ingrained emotional self that lives beneath the surface. The moon is our feeling nature, it's our emotional body, our instinctive response to life before our rational mind has a chance to weigh in. It governs what we need in order to feel emotionally safe, nourished, and secure. It describes our habits, our emotional patterns, and the ways we unconsciously seek comfort when life becomes overwhelming. So when someone says, I don't know why I react that way, chances are they're describing their moon. The moon operates below the level of our conscious awareness. It is the part of us that remembers. It remembers what felt safe, what felt dangerous, what brought love and connection, and what led to rejection or pain. Because of this, our moon often reveals itself most clearly during times of stress, vulnerability, fatigue, illness, or emotional intensity. When our defenses are lowered, we naturally fall back on our moon patterns. And that kind of makes it sound like it only shows up in these negative situations. And that's not true, of course. Our emotions show up in many different ways, but often that intensity, that feeling, when those feelings overwhelm you or you're triggered by something and you're like, I don't even know why I'm reacting this way, that's that subconscious patterning of the moon. And before we dig deeper on all of the nuances around the moon, let's talk about how the moon moves through the chart, how fast it moves. The moon is the fastest moving body used in astrology by far. So the average movement is about 13 degrees per day, which means that the moon only spends about 2.5 days in each sign and takes approximately 29.5 days to complete a new moon to new moon cycle. So this is why the emotional tone of a day can feel noticeably different from one day to the next. The moon also, this is unique to the moon, moves through 8 lunar phases, as we all can observe in the sky, from the new moon when it's completely dark and we can't even hardly see barely a sliver of the moon's light reflecting, all the way to the full moon, and then around again. There are 8 phases of the moon, and those last about 3.5 to 4 days. We also have what's called a lunar return about every 27-ish days. There are roughly 13 lunar returns per year, and that is the same as your solar return or the return of any planet. That simply means that planet comes all the way around through all 12 signs and back to the exact degree and minute at the moment it was when you were born. So your personal lunar return is going to happen about once a month, a smidge more, because it's technically 13 lunar cycles in a year and we have 12 months. So you can think of a lunar return as a monthly emotional reset. Just as a solar return marks the beginning of a new year, a lunar return marks the beginning of a new emotional cycle.
The moon is the great mother. So it's the closest celestial body to the earth. So unlike the sun, which shines its own light, the moon is more of a reflector. So it reflects light. And it's very important symbolically because it helps us reflect our experiences. It also absorbs everything. It remembers, it feels. For thousands of years, people have associated the moon with motherhood, fertility, intuition, cycles, emotions, nourishment, memory, and the unconscious mind. So the moon governs tides. So if you are near the ocean, then you have a visible reminder every day of the power of the moon and how it can pull the ocean in and release it. It's actually really cool to watch. The moon also governs rhythms and it teaches us that life is cyclical and there's times to begin, times to grow, times to release, and times to stretch.
Yeah. And one of the most important things to understand about the moon is that it is less concerned with happiness and more concerned with safety. So the moon
Yeah.
asks, what do we need to feel secure? What helps me relax? What replenishes me? What comforts me when life feels overwhelming? And what feels familiar? Sometimes what feels familiar isn't necessarily healthy. This is why people often repeat emotional patterns from childhood long into adulthood. The moon seeks what it knows. So even when we consciously desire change, the moon often gravitates towards what feels emotionally recognizable, right? I think we
Yeah.
all have had experiences of these patterns that we find ourselves in and wondering why, even though consciously we're going, I don't want to make this choice anymore. It's just that ingrained subconscious patterning of what is recognizable or familiar. So this is where much of our personal growth work lives. And many astrologers associate the moon with the inner child and that sort of mothering and child archetype. So it's both the mother and the nurturer, but also the part of us that desires that mothering and nurturing in that inner child that needs that. And it often reflects our earliest experiences of care, nurture, and belonging. So when we look at the moon in the birth chart, we're often seeing what a child needed emotionally, how that child learned to receive love, how that child learned to protect themselves, and what still needs healing and nurturing today. In some ways, the moon kind of never really grows up. It remains the tender feeling part of ourselves that longs to be held, understood, accepted, and loved. And as adults, one of our greatest tasks is learning how to become the nurturing presence our moon has been seeking all along. In other words, we learn to mother ourselves through our moon archetype. That's how we grow up our moon, is by understanding it and giving ourselves that mothering and that nurturing in the ways that we need, instead of looking to others to fulfill that for us. And of course, we're going to have people in our life that do touch on that and do nurture and heal parts of our moon's longing. Of course, we will. But I think it's very healthy that we are fully able to do that for ourselves too, and have that autonomy of self-healing and nurturing. The moon is also deeply connected with the physical body. So ancient astrologers associated the moon with bodily rhythms, fertility, cycles, sleep, right? So all of those things make a lot of sense based on this cyclical nature and the tides that Jody was talking about. So it's no wonder that it has an effect on our body as well, because if it's doing that to the entire ocean, it has that kind of power to pull the water away and then release again. And we are made up of primarily water. Our body is primarily water, something like 80%, I think.
Yeah.
It's no wonder that it has an influence on us as well and our body. So
Yeah.
it definitely, the moon symbolizes the ebb and flow of our emotional tides as well. So unlike the sun, which remains relatively constant, the moon teaches us that life moves in cycles, just like Jody was saying.
Yeah. And for women, a lot of women, their monthly cycle follows the moon.
Some people even call that time like you're in your moon, right? Or
Yeah.
it's literally used in association with that,
Yeah.
which is also, I think, part of the association with the feminine. There's only two planets, one a luminary in this case, but that we call she or her. Most of them are a masculine archetype. So we have Venus and the moon. They are our two feminine. And actually, interestingly enough, both the closest planets to Earth. So we have these very feminine archetypes close to us. And then the more masculine ones are further and further out.
And the moon is what shows up first when something unexpected happens. Even before our sun or Mercury or any other planet kicks in, it's that moon, that instinctive reaction.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
being aware of your moon, and as we go through this podcast, you'll learn maybe a little bit more than you did before, or even just knowing how to track it and how to pay attention to it and what supports you. And then you can use it to also help you understand what supports others, like your significant other or your children or your pets or
So
anyone.
true. Yeah, definitely. When I really did a deep look at my husband's moon specifically, so many things clicked into place for me
Yeah.
around how he processes. And of course, outside of astrology, I know the man very well. I know how he reacts. I know how he processes. I know him.
Yeah.
But there was all these aha clicking things when I was looking at the moon, his aspects to the moon, all of the things that we're going to talk about, right? The layers of aspect, house, sign, etc.
Yeah.
It just was like, oh, it gave the why behind all of the things I already understood. It was like, this makes so much sense now. So it is
Right.
really cool to, especially because it is subconscious. And I think getting to know your moon almost to me feels more important than really getting to know your sun sign, because that's a little more obvious to us. It's a little more on the
Yeah.
surface. It's a little more conscious in our conscious mind. And this subconscious thing that's happening, sometimes we're like, why do I feel so chaotic? The moon often holds the answer to that. So I adore the moon. I love studying the moon. I think it's
It,
really important to get to know yourself through your moon sign.
yeah. And it's one of my favorite gifts to be able to give to a new parent is what is your new baby's moon sign? Because
Mm,
as maybe you know, or I don't know what your practice is on children's charts, but sometimes there's some talk in astrology how children have to grow into their chart. So you don't want to focus on too
yes.
many things. But the moon is one thing that you can look at, and it gives you a little bit of a glimpse of how they're going to process their emotions and also how you can support them in processing their emotions.
I could not agree more. I think it's probably the most important thing to talk about with new parents or parents in general, if they're curious about how to help their children in a way that is particularly suited to them. The moon
Yeah.
is such a key
Yeah.
for that. Yeah,
Because
definitely.
it's there, everybody reacts differently. And if you think I'm just going to parent the same way across the board, and then you have a child with a Capricorn moon versus a child with maybe a Pisces moon, they're looking for very different support. So the moon is a great way to help give them some insight on what will support your child emotionally.
Absolutely. All right, before we talk about signs and houses, it's worth remembering that astrology is rooted in stories. And in humanity in general, we understand things in archetype and story so well, and that gets passed on. So the myths surrounding the moon reveal something important about its symbolism. Across cultures and throughout history, the moon has been associated with mystery, intuition, cycles, fertility, dreams, and the hidden aspects of life. People have always looked up at the moon and recognized something familiar. And like us, it changes and moves through phases. So in Greek mythology, Selene was the goddess of the moon. Each night she rode her silver chariot across the heavens, illuminating the darkness. Unlike the sun, which dominates the sky through brilliance and force, Selene's power was quieter. She didn't create the light, instead, she reflected it back. This is one of the moon's most important teachings. The moon reflects, it mirrors, receives, and responds. Where the sun represents our conscious identity, the moon represents our internal experience of life. So often, it is that mirror, it's that reaction when something happens, that moon inside of us reflects back some type
Mhm.
of a reaction towards that, right?
Yeah.
And then the moon is also associated with Artemis. Artemis was the goddess of wilderness, intuition, animals, and the untamed feminine. She lived beyond the boundaries of civilization and trusted her instincts completely. This reflects another important lunar theme. The moon knows before the mind knows. Intuition is such a huge connection with your moon. So think about how often you've walked into a room and immediately sensed the energy, or how you've known something wasn't right before you had any evidence, or how you could feel someone was upset before they even said anything. That is lunar intelligence. The moon perceives through feeling, through intuition. It intuits something before we even have it fully conscious. And I know we all have some remembrance of a situation like that we've been in, where we just felt something, walked into a room and we're like, the vibe is off in here, right?
Yeah.
That's your moon sensing before your conscious mind or logical mind can even put the pieces together. It's subtle though. Intuition is that little subtle, quiet nudge, pull, feeling, right? And it's very easy to bowl over it with our logical mind. But the more we tune in to that subtlety, the more truth comes through with that intuition from our moon. And we've already touched on this, but throughout many traditions, the moon became associated with motherhood and nurturing. So, not necessarily motherhood as a role, but the archetype of motherhood, holding, nourishing, protecting, comforting. So, that's why the moon often shows up in conversations about family, caregiving, attachment, emotional bonds, and the maternal line. Those are all associated with the moon. So, whether we experienced nurturing abundantly or struggled to receive it, the moon often reveals our relationship to the experience of being cared for.
The gift of the moon, when we're coming from a healthy space, would be that emotional intelligence, empathy, compassion, intuition, connection, that nurturing ability again, self-awareness, inner wisdom. The moon helps us trust ourselves. And it also teaches us emotional maturity and helps us create genuine intimacy. Now, on the shadow side, when wounded, the moon can become overly reactive, defensive, moody, dependent, withdrawn, avoidant, emotionally flooded, or stuck in those childhood coping mechanisms. Many people are not reacting from their current age when it comes to their emotions. So again, it goes back to that reparenting. They're really reacting from an unmet need stored within the moon.
So let's talk a little bit more about what the moon represents for you personally in your chart. It is your emotional blueprint. So your moon by sign, house, aspect, and all of the layers is going to show you how you process feelings, what helps you feel safe, what you need from relationships, how you react under stress, how you care for yourself, and how you care for others. Two people can experience the same event and have completely different emotional reactions because their moons process reality differently. So, a Taurus moon may be seeking stability, while an Aquarius moon may need space. None are wrong, they're simply different emotional languages. One of my favorite ways to think about the moon is as your emotional home. Imagine you've had the hardest day of your life. Where do you go internally? What do you crave? What helps you come back to yourself? That's often your moon. The moon sign points towards the environment, experiences, and emotional nourishment that help restore us. So when we consistently ignore our moon's needs, we often experience burnout, emotional exhaustion, anxiety, or a sense of disconnection from ourselves. I have many personal stories about having done just that and ending up in right there, right? Just pushing past those needs and being so much in that vitality of the sun and go and accomplish and do that I ignore the signs from my moon needs and then experience those things. So the moon becomes especially visible when it's triggered, like we said. So when life feels threatening, uncertain, or overwhelming, we don't usually rise into our highest expression. We fall back into familiar emotional patterns. So this is why understanding the moon can be so powerful. It shows us those coping mechanisms, emotional defenses, and automatic reactions. So before we go through the moon through the signs, though, let's talk about moon by element. Jody, you take
All
over.
right. Okay, so we have the 4 elements. So I'm going to go through and just give examples of what it might feel like to have your moon in each element. So first with fire moons, that would be Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Fire moons process their emotions through action, movement, inspiration. They tend to feel better when they can do something about a situation rather than just sit in it too long. They need to take action. They need freedom, excitement, and a sense of possibility. When stressed, they may become impatient or reactive. Earth moons are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, and they process their emotions through practicality and stability. They often feel safe when life is predictable and grounded. They tend to show love through actions rather than words and may focus on solving problems when emotion arises. Like, where can I fix it? And then air moons are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, and they process their emotions through thinking, talking, and gaining perspective. So they often need to understand their feelings before fully experiencing them. Communication, connection, and mental stimulation helps them feel emotionally supported. And then last but certainly not least, we have the water moons, which are going to be Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, and they process emotions through feelings. They're naturally intuitive, sensitive, and deeply connected to the emotional world. These moons often absorb energy from their environment and need time to retreat, reflect, and recharge. All right, on to the signs.
Okay. So, if you have an Aries moon, this moon longs for freedom, independence, and the ability to respond honestly to whatever they're feeling in that moment. Deep down, this moon fears feeling powerless, trapped, or dependent on others for too long. So, when life gets hard, they often cope by taking action, staying busy, or throwing themselves into the next challenge rather than sitting with difficult emotions.
And their gift is they're courageous, enthusiastic, and honest. Their healing path would be to pause before reacting, learn that vulnerability is a strength, and some essential oils to use for support would be peppermint, which helps cool heated emotions and bring mental clarity, or cedarwood, which grounds that excessive fire energy and promotes emotional stability.
If you have a Taurus moon, longs for peace, stability, and the simple comforts that help them feel grounded in a constantly changing world. Deep down, this moon fears loss, upheaval, and having the rug pulled out from underneath them. When life gets hard, they often retreat into familiar routines, comfort foods, nature, beauty, or anything that helps them restore a sense of calm and predictability.
The gift of the Taurus moon is that they're very grounded, loyal, and dependable. Their healing path is trust that growth often requires change. Some essential oils that would help support a Taurus moon is patchouli, which is deeply grounding and supportive during times of transition, and wild orange, which brings that flexibility, optimism, and openness to new experiences.
Taurus moon is my moon, and I love both of those essential oils. And I didn't necessarily know they were associated with that, but I just have
Yeah.
always been drawn to those.
Yep. Naturally attracted to them, right?
Your soul knows.
Yeah.
Okay. If you have a Gemini moon, the Gemini moon longs to understand their experiences and feels most secure when they can talk, learn, explore, and make sense of what they're feeling. They want to talk it out. So, deep down, this moon fears feeling trapped, bored, or unable to express themselves. When life gets hard, they often cope by seeking information, talking things through, or distracting themselves with new ideas and possibilities.
The gift for Gemini moon is they're curious, they're adaptable, they're very communicative. Their healing path is balancing their thinking with feeling. Essential oils to help support this would be spearmint, which supports mental clarity without overstimulation, and bergamot, which lifts anxious thoughts and encourages emotional lightness.
The Cancer moon. Cancer moon longs to belong and feels nourished through emotional connection, care, and meaningful relationships. So, deep down, this moon fears rejection, emotional abandonment, or not being truly needed by those that they love. When life gets hard, they often retreat toward home, family, memories, or familiar comforts that help them feel safe and protected.
The gift of the Cancer moon is they're very nurturing, intuitive, and compassionate. Their healing path is to feel their emotions without becoming consumed by them. Essential oil support would be Roman chamomile. This soothes emotional overwhelm and tenderness, provide comfort in that sense of security.
Leo moon. The Leo moon longs to be appreciated, celebrated, and loved for who they truly are. Deep down, this moon fears being overlooked, unimportant, or unworthy of love and recognition. When life gets hard, they may seek reassurance, pull back dramatically, or struggle when they feel unseen or unappreciated.
The gift of the Leo moon is they're very warm-hearted, they're generous, they're creative. Their healing path is to know their worth from within. Essential oils that can support a Leo moon would be ylang ylang, which supports the heart and helps release fear of rejection, or citrus bliss, which inspires creativity and reconnects Leo moon to fun.
Virgo moon. Virgo moon longs to feel useful, capable, and able to create order in a world that often feels chaotic. Deep down, this moon fears making mistakes, losing control, or not being good enough. When life gets hard, they often cope by fixing, organizing, planning, or focusing on practical solutions.
The gift for Virgo moon is they're very helpful, they're organized, they're practical. Their healing path is to be able to release the need to fix everything. Essential oil support is tea tree, which symbolically supports clearing mental clutter and overwhelm, and the adaptive blend, which helps ease stress and support emotional flexibility when things don't go according to the plan.
The Libra moon. This moon longs for harmony, connection, and relationships that feel balanced and mutually supportive. Deep down, this moon fears conflict, rejection, and the possibility of being alone. When life gets hard, they often cope by smoothing things over, seeking compromise, or putting others' needs ahead of their own.
The gift of the Libra moon is they're very harmonious, diplomatic, and thoughtful. Their healing path is to honor their own needs alongside everyone else's. Essential oil support would be rose, which encourages self-love and heart-centered relationships, and geranium supports emotional balance and harmony.
Scorpio moon. This moon longs for deep emotional intimacy and relationships where nothing important has to be hidden. More than anything, this moon fears betrayal, abandonment, or being vulnerable with someone who cannot be trusted. When life gets hard, they often withdraw, become protective of their feelings, or try to regain a sense of control before opening their heart again.
The gift for the Scorpio moon is they're deeply intuitive, they're passionate, and they're transformative. Their healing path is to allow themselves to be vulnerable and release what no longer serves them. Essential oil support would be myrrh, which encourages healing and transformation, and cypress, which helps with emotional release, letting go, and moving through change.
Sagittarius moon. This moon longs for freedom, adventure, and the feeling that life is full of possibility and meaning. Deep down, this moon fears limitation, stagnation, and feeling trapped by circumstances that they cannot change. When life gets hard, they often cope by seeking perspective, focusing on the bigger picture, or looking toward the next horizon.
The gift of the Sagittarius moon is they're very optimistic, they're adventurous, they're inspiring. Their healing path is to stay present with emotions instead of always moving forward to the next adventure. Essential oil support would be lemongrass. This encourages releasing limitations and old stories. Frankincense supports spiritual growth and finding deeper meaning.
Capricorn moon. This moon longs to feel competent, respected, and capable of handling whatever life asks of them. Deep down, this moon fears failure, vulnerability, or becoming a burden to others. When life gets hard, they often cope by working harder, becoming more self reliant, or focusing on what needs to be done.
The gift for the Capricorn moon is that they're responsible, they're dependable, they're resilient. Their healing path is to allow themselves to receive support and rest. Essential oils for the Capricorn moon would be vetiver, which provides deep grounding and nervous system support, and balance blend, which helps the Capricorn moon soften the need to carry everything alone.
Aquarius moon. This moon longs for freedom, authenticity, and the space to be fully themselves. Deep down, this moon fears being controlled, confined, or forced to fit into expectations that don't feel true. They often cope by creating distance, seeking objectivity, or stepping back to gain perspective.
The gift of the Aquarius moon is that they're very innovative, they're accepting, and they're independent. Their healing path is to connect with their heart as much as their mind. Essential oil support would be lavender, which helps soften those emotional walls and encourage relaxation, or eucalyptus, which creates mental clarity and fresh perspective.
The Pisces moon. This moon longs for connection, compassion, and a sense of spiritual meaning in their lives. Deep down, this moon fears separation, rejection, and living in a world that feels cold or disconnected. They often cope by retreating into imagination, spirituality, creativity, escapism, or solitude.
The gift of the Pisces moon is that they are very compassionate, they're intuitive, they're imaginative. Their healing path is to create healthy boundaries while honoring their sensitivity. And essential oil support would be clary sage, which encourages intuition, creativity, and emotional flow. And also frankincense, because it helps ground spiritual sensitivity and strengthen connection to inner wisdom.
So, while the moon sign describes how you experience emotions, the house placement shows where those emotional needs tend to show up the most. Not that it doesn't show up in all aspects of our life. We are emotional creatures, but this gives you a clue into where your emotions sort of channel through or where that shows up most in your life. The house placement often reveals the area in life where we seek comfort, security, and emotional fulfillment. So, if you have your moon in the first house, your emotions are rarely hidden for long. You experience life through your feelings. And others often sense what you're going through before you've even said a word. When life becomes overwhelming, you may need space to process your emotions directly rather than pushing them aside. Your gift is emotional authenticity and the ability to help others feel safe being real too.
Okay, a real life example of this might be that people often know how you're feeling before you say a word because it's written all over your face. So
Do you know any first house moon people?
I do. I do. And I've also, in my chart reading experience, find that first house moon people also have a great memory. They're like the person that remembers everything.
That's so true because it is so deeply tied to memory and it's the first house of self. That makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Great example. Okay. If you have your moon in the second house, feeling emotionally secure often goes hand in hand with stability in your physical world. You may find comfort in familiar routines, beautiful surroundings, financial security, or simple sensory pleasures. When life feels uncertain, you naturally seek something solid to ground yourself. Your gift is the ability to create steadiness, security, and reassurance for yourself and others.
A real life example for this would be financial uncertainty may create emotional stress, while a stable environment helps you feel calm.
If you have your moon in the third house, your feelings need words. Talking things through, journaling, learning, or having meaningful conversations often helps you understand what you're experiencing emotionally. When life gets difficult, processing your thoughts can help you find your footing again. Your gift is the ability to communicate feelings in ways that help both yourself and others gain clarity.
And a real life example is talking with your trusted friend often helps you understand your emotions.
Definitely. If you have your moon in the fourth house, feeling at home in your life is deeply important to you. You crave roots, belonging, and emotional safety, and you likely carry a strong connection to your family, ancestry, or the memories that shaped you. When life becomes overwhelming, retreating into your private world can feel incredibly restorative. Your gift is an extraordinary ability to nurture, protect, and create a sense of home wherever you go. It's funny, this one is my placement. And
Mhm.
when I travel, I am such a nester. I immediately unpack and put little things around the hotel room to nest and make it home.
Make it feel like home,
I
yes.
have to bring home with me wherever I go.
Yeah, that's a very fourth house moon trait, I think. So, a real life example was that your home is your sanctuary. So, when life feels chaotic, you retreat to what's familiar and comfortable. Just bring your comforts of home with you when you travel. It's
Mhm.
perfect.
And I am such a homebody too. I love to travel. I'm a Sagittarius sun. And then I'm a Taurus fourth house moon. So I have this very back and forth. I am such a homebody, and it is my safe place that I retreat to restore. And I call it plugging myself into the wall. I'm recharging. I go home and just spend time at home. But then I go out and adventure. And it's this kind of the cycle of out and in. But yes, bringing my home with me when I travel makes me feel instantly more comfortable in any place that I'm staying.
Yeah. And do you find that making your house more comfortable or cleaning or decluttering, all those things help you feel more emotionally secure or happy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Comfortable? I don't know.
I'm very affected by my surroundings in my home. I have done my best to make it a tranquil space. I like it clean, organized, because that helps me emotionally. Genuinely helps me emotionally to feel at peace. If my surroundings in my home are serene, I am serene. It is a direct correlation to my emotions. My husband can attest to this.
Yeah.
Because when the house is chaotic and messy, I'm a little chaotic and messy.
Yeah. That's a quick way to clean things up emotionally too. If you clean your house or declutter your house, or if your husband assists with that, that's going to just help your emotions.
It does. And he's very aware of that. And he's great at sensing that. And then he'll start to clean something or put something away or whatever, because he can sense that. I'm like, That's too funny. Yeah. The ways that we can help each other when we know these things.
Yes.
Okay. If you have your moon in the fifth house, your heart comes alive through creativity, joy, play, and self-expression. What a fun place to have your moon. You need opportunities to laugh, create, and share what makes you unique. When life feels heavy, reconnecting with beauty, romance, art, hobbies, or simple pleasures can help restore your spirit. Your gift is the ability to bring warmth, creativity, and joy into the lives of others.
And those real life examples would be doing just what Mari said. Be creative, paint a picture, pull in your hobbies that you love, play with kids, or if you don't really love kids, tap into your
own
into your inner child.
kid.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It will help you process your emotions.
This is my husband's placement, and he's a Capricorn moon, so he can be a little overly serious and get hard on himself about things if he doesn't feel like he's doing enough, like the Capricorn things we touched on. But that's why I encourage him so much to just go play. And he loves to play. His inner child is so strong. I'll send him out into the yard to literally play yard games with his buddies. He'll have a beer in his hand and be throwing the frisbee around and just be the happiest kid you ever did see. It's restorative to him to like laugh or be goofy. And like, he's got his very best friends all have a good sense of humor because he needs that. That is healing to him.
Yeah. It's that fun house, the fifth house. You got to be having fun, pulling in that joy.
Yes. Yep. I can tell when he hasn't had enough fun lately. It really affects him. And I'm like, okay, time to punch out and go have some fun, and right back to himself after he's done that. Okay. If your moon is in the sixth house, your emotional well-being is often closely tied to your daily routines and sense of purpose. You tend to feel best when life has structure and when you know you're contributing in a meaningful way. When life feels stressful, creating order or focusing on practical tasks can help you regain a sense of stability. Your gift is the ability to care for others through service, consistency, and thoughtful attention to detail.
So, real life example for this would be cleaning when you're upset or emotional. I remember that being one of the questions in one of the astrology trainings I did. Do you clean when you're upset? I'm like, oh my goodness. I don't have my moon in the sixth house, but that is one of the things that I tend to do is clean when I'm upset, because it just helps. I think any earth element, that it pulls in that earth element of grounding and just that focus and cleaning up the space and focusing on your environment, or even health routines. Some people might turn to exercise.
Yeah. I had an old roommate who was like that. And I wish I had known about astrology at the time, because I would be shocked if her moon was not in the sixth house, because if upset or stressed or anything, she would just go straight to cleaning. And it was a great benefit for me to have her as a roommate because our house was always clean. She loved it. It was cathartic to her.
Does that mean she was mad a lot?
Not always mad, but when
Yeah.
stressed or when life is overwhelming, any of that, I think
Right.
it was an outlet and a sense of control over her environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I benefited because the house always looked fabulous.
Right.
Because I helped
Yeah.
when I could, but she was always on it so fast. There was barely anything for me to do.
Yeah. We're just taking one piece of the puzzle out by just looking at the moon in the sixth house. But there's many other things that could be happening in the chart to bring in those same traits.
Yes, that outlet is not specific
Yeah.
only to that, but it would definitely
Yeah.
be one of the expressions of moon in the sixth for sure. If you have your moon in the seventh house, relationships play an important role in your emotional world. You often discover more about yourself through connection with others and may feel nourished by meaningful partnerships. When life gets difficult, reaching out to someone you trust can help you find balance and perspective. Your gift is your capacity for empathy, cooperation, and creating deep emotional bonds.
So a real life example for this is remembering that relationships often mirror your emotional growth and your healing journey.
If you have your moon in the eighth house, you rarely experience life on a surface level. You long for emotional honesty, depth, and relationships where vulnerability is welcomed rather than avoided. When life gets difficult, you may pull inward and process things privately before deciding to trust with your feelings. Your gift is the ability to navigate transformation, healing, and emotional complexity with tremendous courage and wisdom.
Real life example for this eighth house moon would be remembering that you need those deep, authentic conversations. You are not satisfied with those surface level conversations. So having those deep emotional conversations are going to help you process your emotions.
Vulnerable. My best friend and I
vulnerable.
always like jokingly call it like wrap it out. We'll
Mhm.
call each other, be like, I need to wrap it out. And it's a light way of saying it, but that's like when we're like, we need to go deep and talk to somebody we really trust right now and get this out and really talk about what's real happening in our
Yeah.
emotional world. And it usually is very cathartic.
Yes.
Yeah. Someone you trust. Talk it out with someone you trust. Okay. If you have your moon in the ninth house, your heart needs room to grow. Learning, traveling, exploring new perspectives, and searching for meaning can feel deeply nourishing to you. When life becomes challenging, you often cope by looking for the bigger picture or asking what lesson can be found within the experience, which is very wise. Your gift is the ability to inspire hope, wisdom, and a broader perspective in others.
So, a real life example for this one would be tapping into learning or getting out in nature or traveling, doing some spiritual work, maybe going to a retreat. This is just going to help you reconnect with yourself.
Absolutely. If you have your moon in the 10th house, your emotional life is often connected to your sense of purpose and contribution. It may feel important to know that your work matters or that you're making a meaningful impact in the world. When life becomes uncertain, focusing on your goals or responsibilities can help you regain a sense of direction. Your gift is the ability to lead with care, integrity, and emotional wisdom.
The real life example here would be like anything to do with your career or your success or your legacy. Any challenges there are going to have a tendency to impact you more emotionally. So, just something to be aware of.
If you have your moon in the 11th house, friendship, community, and belonging to something larger than yourself can feel deeply fulfilling. You often feel nourished when you're surrounded by like minded people who share your hopes and your vision for the future. When life gets difficult, connecting with your community or remembering the bigger dream can help you find your footing again. Your gift is your ability to bring people together and help them feel included and supported.
Real life example here would be to tap into those friendships and those communities because they're going to play a major role in your emotional well-being.
And finally, if you have your moon in the 12th house, your emotional world is vast, sensitive, and often difficult to put into words. You may absorb the moods and energies around you without even realizing it, which is why solitude, spirituality, creativity, or time in nature can be so restorative for you. When life becomes overwhelming, retreating into your inner world may feel safer than explaining what you're feeling. Your gift is profound intuition, compassion, and an extraordinary connection to the unseen dimensions of life.
The real life example here for 12th house moon is to give yourself that alone time because you do need more time to process emotions and recharge your energy after being out in the big world with all the other people and their energy.
Mhm. Definitely. Yeah, can be very
And also your
overwhelming.
own. Yeah.
Yeah. But there is that real sense of a strong intuitive nature with that 12th house moon placement.
Yeah.
That's someone who definitely can see through to other realms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So the one thing that we get to touch on here that's different than the other planets, like we touched on briefly earlier, is the lunar phases. Your moon phase describes the relationship between your sun and moon at birth. So while your moon sign speaks to your emotional needs, moon house shows where those needs are expressed. The phase of the moon at your birth often describes your natural approach to growth, learning, and evolution. It's almost as though each phase carries a unique soul lesson that you signed up for. It's like an overarching life theme and soul lesson. While your moon sign describes your emotional language, your lunar phase describes the rhythm through which your soul experiences life. So we're going to touch on these briefly because we actually did an entire episode on this called Living by the Moon, the 8 lunar phases and your birth moon story. That's episode 8. If you're looking back, you can do a deep dive with us there just about the phases of the moon. But for now, we are going to give you a brief overview of each phase.
So before we go into each of the moon phases and give a brief description on it, just to let you know how you can find out what moon phase you were born during, all you need to really do is Google it or put it into Chat GPT and just say, what was the moon phase on your birthday? Even maybe throw in a time because sometimes it can switch. And it will pull up the moon phase for you. And then it will also connect you to AstroSeek or a couple other websites that track the moon phases.
And if you want to do it the hard way, looking at your chart physically, you're going to find where the sun is. And then we count degrees counterclockwise. So wherever the sun is, you're going to count degrees counterclockwise around until you reach your moon. And however many degrees between your sun and your moon going counterclockwise will tell you what moon phase you sit in. So that's doing it the slow way.
Okay, so the new moon phase is between 0 degrees and 44 degrees. So if you're born under a new moon, you are here to begin something. You may often feel drawn towards new experiences, fresh starts, or unexplored possibilities. There can be a strong sense of following an inner instinct, even when the path ahead isn't fully visible. Your gift is trusting what wants to emerge before anyone else can see it.
The crescent moon phase is from 45 degrees to 89 degrees. And if you were born in a crescent moon, your life often asks you to take leaps of faith. You may find yourself building something, believing in something, or pursuing something long before there is evidence it will succeed. Growth comes through trusting your vision and continuing forward despite uncertainty. Your gift is perseverance and faith in the unseen.
Next, we have the first quarter moon phase, which is between 90 degrees and 134 degrees. If you were born under this first quarter moon, you're here to take action. Life may regularly place obstacles in your path, not as a punishment, but as an opportunity to develop courage, strength, and resilience. You learn by doing rather than waiting. Your gift is your ability to move things forward.
The gibbous moon phase is next, and that is from 135 to 179 degrees. And this is the waxing gibbous phase. If you are born under the gibbous moon, you're here to refine and improve. You may naturally notice what could be better, what could be stronger, or what still needs attention before it's ready to be shared with the world. Growth comes through developing mastery without becoming trapped by perfectionism. Your gift is thoughtful refinement and wisdom.
The full moon phase is between 180 degrees and 224 degrees. So, if you were born under a full moon, relationships often become powerful mirrors for self discovery. You may find yourself navigating apparent opposites and learning how to honor multiple truths all at once. Life invites you to bring awareness, balance, and integration to whatever feels divided. Your gift is perspective and emotional awareness.
The disseminating moon phase, or the waning gibbous, it can also be called, is from 225 to 269 degrees. If you are born under a disseminating moon, you're here to share what you've learned. There's often a natural teacher, guide, storyteller, or messenger within you. Life asks you to take your experiences and transform them into wisdom that can benefit others. Your gift is inspiring growth through what you have learned.
All right, we have the last quarter moon phase, which is 270 degrees to 314 degrees. If you were born under a last quarter moon, you are often called to question what no longer works. You may naturally challenge outdated beliefs, systems, and feel compelled to seek a more authentic way forward. Growth comes through reevaluating and reimagining what is possible. Your gift is transformation through insight.
And finally, the balsamic moon phase. That's from 315 to 359 degrees. If you were born under a balsamic moon, you often carry the energy of endings, healing, and release. You may feel deeply connected to spirituality, compassion, reflection, or the unseen dimensions of life. Growth comes through learning to trust endings and making space for what wants to be born next. Your gift is wisdom, intuition, and the ability to help others let go. And again, that is just a brief little summary of those. If you want to go deeper on the moon phases, because they are pretty powerful, I have found often when I'm doing a chart reading for a client. And when I get to the moon phase, I have to laugh to myself because the chart story, the story of everything that's happening in the chart that's being woven together, overarchingly can be summed up in a way within the moon phase. It's that powerful that it's like this overarching theme that ties the chart together. So I find it to be pretty powerful. So definitely check that episode out. Okay, the moon in aspect. So if the moon is your emotional nature, aspects show how that emotional nature interacts with the rest of your psyche. No moon exists in isolation, and the aspects tell the story. What are the aspects? That is all those crazy lines in the middle of your chart that we've talked about before of how the planets talk to each other. So what aspects are affecting your moon? Is your moon in opposition, square, trine, sextile? There are many minor aspects as well. We have a whole episode on aspects if that's something that you're unsure about. But if you have aspects from the other planets, they have a profound impact on your moon. And people often worry about the squares or oppositions or the more friction or more difficult aspects. We're always careful with our verbiage around that. They tend to get such a negative connotation, the squares or oppositions or some of the more friction placements. But some of the most emotionally mature people have challenging moon aspects. Hard aspects are not punishments, they're invitations. They create growth through friction. Soft aspects create ease and flow. Both have gifts. One is not better than the other. Sometimes the soft aspects get overlooked or even ignored because they're so easy, we forget that's a gift that we have. So being aware on either side of this, whether it be more of a flowing or more friction aspect, is really helpful. So we're going to look at the planets in association with the moon just generally. And then you have to look at your own chart about whether that's more of a flowing energy or more of a friction energy for you. Or conjunction, which is neither really. It just blends those energies together so much that they're working fully in tandem. So that's pretty potent then if it's a conjunction.
Okay. If your moon and Mercury are connected in your chart, your feelings and thoughts tend to speak the same language. You often need to talk through your emotions, write them down, or make sense of them mentally before you can fully process them. Your gift is emotional intelligence and the ability to put words to experiences that others struggle to explain. Your growth comes through remembering that not every feeling needs to be analyzed. Sometimes it simply needs to be felt.
If your moon and Venus are connected in your chart, love, connection, beauty, and emotional harmony are deeply important to your well being. You naturally seek warmth in relationships and often have a gift for helping others feel cared for and appreciated. Your challenge may be avoiding discomfort or prioritizing peace over honesty. Your growth comes through learning that authentic connection is more important than perfect harmony.
If your moon and Mars are connected in your chart, your emotions rarely sit still for long. You tend to feel things passionately and instinctively, and you're often quick to act on what your heart is telling you. Your gift is emotional courage and the willingness to be honest about what you feel. Your growth comes through learning how to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively.
If your moon and Jupiter are connected in your chart, your emotional world naturally seeks meaning, hope, and possibility. Even during difficult times, part of you often believes that things will work out in the end. Your gift is generosity, optimism, and the ability to help others see the bigger picture. Your growth comes through balancing faith with realism and learning that not every difficult feeling needs to be immediately reframed into a positive one.
If your moon and Saturn are connected in your chart, you may have learned early in life to be responsible, self sufficient, or emotionally mature. You often possess tremendous resilience and strength, but you may also struggle to let others see your vulnerability. Your gift is emotional wisdom, reliability, and perseverance. Your growth comes through recognizing that needing support does not make you weak, it makes you human.
If your moon and Uranus are connected in your chart, emotional freedom is essential to your well being. You need space to be yourself and may resist situations that feel restrictive or emotionally confining. Your gift is authenticity, innovation, and the courage to live life on your own terms. Your growth comes through learning that closeness and freedom do not have to be opposites.
If your moon and Neptune are connected in your chart, your emotional world is highly sensitive, intuitive, and deeply compassionate. You often feel what others are feeling, sometimes before they do. Your gift is empathy, imagination, and spiritual awareness. Your growth comes through learning where your emotions end and where someone else's begin.
If your moon and Pluto are connected in your chart, you experience life with extraordinary emotional depth. Surface level interactions rarely satisfy you because you instinctively seek truth, authenticity, and transformation. Your gift is your capacity for healing, resilience, and profound emotional insight. Your growth comes through trusting that vulnerability is not a loss of power, it is often the source of it.
If your moon and Chiron are connected in your chart, emotional wounds often become some of your greatest teachers. You may be especially sensitive to themes of belonging, safety, nurturing, or being understood. Your gift is compassion and the ability to guide others through experiences that you have personally navigated. Your growth comes through recognizing that your sensitivity is not something to overcome, it's part of your medicine.
All right. So as we close here, I would say if you're curious about this and how the moon does affect you as it moves through your chart personally on a day to day basis, something fun to do, and I've done this myself, is for a month to quite literally track the moon as it moves through your chart, what house it's in, as it moves through each of the signs, and check in with your mood and see if you can sense an association with the signs, houses, and conjunctions with planets in your own personal chart by asking, what sign is the moon in today? How do I feel? What themes are showing up? What am I needing emotionally? And then see if there are patterns that emerge. See how much the moon does affect you on a day-to-day basis. And maybe it's a little, maybe it's a lot. Some of us tend to be more sensitive to the moon and its movements, but that is a fun way to connect in with your chart and make it real in your day-to-day life. And sometimes when I'm having a crazy day where I'm just feeling some kind of way, the first thing I will do is go and look and see where the moon is, because often that gives me a clue as to what I might be feeling.
So the sun may tell us who we're becoming, but the moon tells us how to care for ourselves while we're getting there. So your moon is not a weakness. It's not something to overcome. It's a sacred compass. It points towards what your heart needs in order to feel safe enough to grow. When you learn your moon, you learn the language of your emotional soul, and that can change everything. And that wraps up our episode for the day. So thank you for joining us.
Yes, follow along, share, comment, review. We appreciate you, and we will chat at you again in a few weeks.
Thanks for joining us under the stars today. We hope you're leaving feeling inspired, grounded, and more connected to your inner truth.
And if you loved this episode, we would be so grateful if you would subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone you love.
If you're ready to explore your soul's path through psychological, evolutionary astrology, and personal astrological coaching, you can find Mari at yoursoulpurposeastrology.com or follow her on Instagram and Facebook at yoursoulpurposeastrology.
And if you're ready to illuminate your birth chart and explore how essential oils can support your emotional and energetic alignment, you can find Jody at earthandskyessentials.com or at Earth and Sky Essentials on Facebook and Instagram.
And remember, your soul is always guiding you.
The magic starts within.